So ComMarker reached out to me to see if I wanted to test out their new ComMarker B6 60-watt MOPA fiber laser. I said, sure, why not? Let's go ahead and take a look at it. And this is a 60-watt JPT MOPA fiber laser. It has 0.01 millimeter 8K HD accuracy, engraving speed up to 15,000 millimeters per second. It has a smart LED touchscreen. It can engrave metals, plastics, and stone. It has one-touch autofocus, super 3D engraving cutting ability, compatible with Lightburn, and 2-in-1 design with integrated or split, which basically means that you could have the base separated from the laser itself to make it lighter and more portable. And they have different bundles that are available, anywhere from $4,589 to $5,456. It all depends on which bundle that you pick, and it'll be priced accordingly. All the steps for assembling this are well labeled, and it actually went together within about, let's say, less than 10 minutes. First, we're going to attach the mounting bracket for the gavel head itself. Then we're going to attach that bracket to the gavel. That takes 4 screws, as you see here. Just make sure that they're snug. You don't want to over tighten them. Don't want to strip out anything. And then once this is assembled, we're going to then attach it to the base plate. And the base plate will also require 4 screws as well. Again, you don't want to over tighten them. As mentioned, the laser could be configured in one of 2 ways. This is the split design, but I'm going to actually have this on top of the base. And you're going to use this, it's like a, I don't know, like a little rubber mat that is in between them. And then you're going to secure it with 4 screws. Again, do not over tighten these 4 screws, just nice and snug will do you good. And there you go, now you have it mounted right on top of the base. To power the motorized Z and the display, it just requires a USB-C cable. You have a power, rotary, pedal switch, enclosure, and then the USB-C and data connections on the back, along with some fans for cooling. Even though this is small in size, you do get this big power brick here and with a proprietary cabling here, so always be sure that you know where this is at all times. And then we're going to just go ahead and plug in the USB. As you see, very simple to assemble, and you can have it configured in one of 2 ways. As you can see, this is definitely one of the smaller units available. You have a emergency stop, power, and up and down for your Z. And then as we go up here, you'll see that you have your lens cover and status LED where it says ComMarker, and then on the very top you have your LCD touch panel where you could go ahead and manually adjust the height. You have settings here which shows you speed, screw pitch, pulse count, focal length, and real focal length. And then you have a send focus OK, and you have the up arrow auto, and then stop and down. And that's about it for what the display really shows. Now your adjustment laser here for the autofocus is more towards the front and not in the middle that you might expect. So I would expect the focus to be centered and not here. But that's okay, but you'll see that there's a warning on the screen itself. So if your material isn't on or by that center, then that will just come up regardless. So just wanted to point that out. Now I cannot emphasize safety enough. You want to make sure you have a nice fume extractor unit, whether it's filtered or vented outside, because you are obliterating metal. And you also want to have a nice pair of eye protection. Preferably something that's certified, and of course has to be the wavelength of the machine that you're operating, and have multiple pairs available. Don't want anyone walking into the room that doesn't have any protection. And let's talk about today's video sponsor. Are you looking for a PCB manufacturer? Are you looking for rigid, flexible PCBs? Are you looking for them to assemble them for you? Well, they can. And they also offer other services such as 3D printing, injection molding, and CNC. Heck, they even have a community section where you could buy a project and assemble it on your own. If you're looking for any of these services, please reach out to PCB Way. Now, there is always the questions. What are the settings for this? Where are the settings for that? Well, you really cannot say with certainty that this is a setting for this material, because a lot of times the compounds or The materials themselves behave differently. So you're gonna want to do lots and lots of testing. And with these material tests, you will be able to have grids and actually pick out, the colors, the darkness, the shades, the engraving depth or cuts that you're going to want to do. And you'll see here I have this stainless steel piece here, and I'm just doing lots and lots of different tests on here. And I'm doing this in Lightburn, which makes these material tests very easy to do. And you're going to want to save these for future reference. You can see that I have some really light engraving here and showing some different shades. Now, when people say, oh, it does colors with MOPA, yeah, it does, but you can see that you really don't see it in certain angles of light. You really have to pitch these in the right angle for you to start seeing the colors. You can see some blues, some browns, and it's kind of all over the place now. As I'm starting to change the frequency and the speed and the power, I'm getting lots of different results here. And again, you're going to want to save these because you can add them to your material library, but again, all materials behave differently. You also notice that I'm trying to use as much real estate as possible on here, so all my grid patterns are nice and small. I see lots of people just literally would use this whole little sample piece here and with one material test. And no, you could look at, I did 6 of them and I got a lot of different results. Now let's take some of these color settings and put them to use here. Here's a Captain America, and you'll see that we have different speeds, frequency, power, Q pulse, passes, and line intervals, which will produce different colors. And these are all different sections here, and most of the time this will be on time lapse. Unless you hear the laser sound itself, expect it just to be on time lapse, because when we're doing colors, a lot of the times it's going to be a lot slower and to achieve those results. And like I mentioned, different angles where you hold the material and the lighting kind of affects what you see here, because you'll see that right now this Captain America looks kind of pink and blue, but then when we pick it up, it will kind of shift on you. So here we go. We have the Captain America here, and we got it's almost like a pinkish red for the shield and stuff, and blue for around the face, and almost like a, I don't know, like a beige color for the cheeks and eyes. And if you want this to last, I would suggest spraying it with a clear coat. Now let's go ahead and do a black business card. A speed of 1000, frequency 45, max power 60, Q pulse 200, and line interval of 0.0651. Basically 390 DPI. And then we're going to do image mode will be a dither. And let's see how this turns out. Now this is to show some of the details here, and these black business cards are pretty popular. And this is only at 390 DPI. If you want more detail, of course, go ahead and increase it, but it will take a lot slower to get the results. All right, let's remove it from the plate here, wipe it down with some alcohol and a paper towel here, just clean it up a little bit. And let's take a look here. Now that is some pretty amazing detail here as soon as I get it focused. And again, 390 DPI. If you wanted to be any better than this, go ahead and just increase it. But again, remember your time will suffer here a little bit. So if you're doing large batches, and also might warp the metal here. But I think that came out really nice, and you could definitely see the potential of this machine. Let's do something else. Now I play poker with some friends and my brother, and I wanted to do something nice for them for Christmas, even though it's now after Christmas, but we only play once a month. So I want to go ahead and engrave some Zippos here. So here are my settings. We're going to do speed of 1500, frequency 300, max power 75, Q pulse 45, and we're going to do a line interval of 0.0030. And this is on a time lapse here. Now you can go a little bit faster, but I really want to feel the engraving on here and have the contrast that I was looking for. Now each side does take about 13 to 14 minutes here, and you'll see that I'm a little bit off here on my engraving. It's kind of tilting a little bit to the left. So this is my first Zippo lighter. So you may have a sacrifice here. And I'm going to flip it over, and now I'm centered a lot better. So also what would help you with aligning these is if you actually move your piece further down so you can actually look right over it. I'm more in the center and the galvo head is kind of in the way. So just a little bit of advice there. But as you can see, this is definitely a lot more centered than the last one. Practice makes perfect. Now let's go ahead and see how this looks. It is a little hot though. This engraving came out really nice here. You'll see though on the top of the crown for the king, it's a little bit darker. Those are inconsistencies of the stainless steel itself, not the laser, but it has a nice kind of grip to it because I could actually feel the engraving and it's not going anywhere. So let's go ahead and batch this out. During a batch process, you may want to do more than one at a time, create a jig, and that way you have everything nice and centered. But I did start to align these a lot easier. Practice makes perfect, and you can see how nice and centered all these have become. And again, you can go ahead and increase the speed if you do not wish to have a deeper engraving. So each lighter took about 28 minutes for both sides, and I purchased a file on Etsy. I'll go ahead and link that down below. So if I were to sell these, I would most likely sell them maybe for about $35 each. And you could always add some personal touches like a name or something. So let's go ahead and continue on to my next project. So our dog Oreo needs a new tag. Hers is kind of mangled, so let's go ahead and create a new one. First, we're going to try this setting: speed 3500, frequency 300, max power 75, Q pulse 45, one pass, and a line interval of 0.0150. I'm going to go ahead and get this to start here. And this is real time, and I'm not really getting the shade that I want. You can see that we are getting some depth on here, but not the shade. I really want this to stand out. And I really want it darker, so what we're going to do is actually only change one setting. And you'll be amazed at what one setting will do. So we're only going to change the line interval to 0.0030. These are going to move the lines much closer together, and you'll see how much different the contrast is. You can see now that it's a lot darker, and when we go over it, it just has a lot better contrast. Now you see it also has some depth here, but we actually did do 2 passes, and practice does make perfect. I really thought I was going to nail it on the first try here, but by just changing the line interval to 0.0030, we're able to get a darker shade. And we're actually going to use those same settings on this, a magnetic parts holder. It's kind of nice that once you get like one setting, you can kind of apply it to almost everything. And you can most likely apply that to those Zippos if you so choose, to make it go a lot faster. And what is nice here is that this magnetic parts holder is only like $4 or $5 over at Harbor Freight, and you could just customize these and sell them for maybe $15, and the profit margin is nice. I mean, this only took about 6 minutes to engrave, and it came out really, really sharp. This is a permanent engraving, and when they throw their loose nuts in here, that's not going to go anywhere. If anything, it's going to add character once they start throwing them in here. So again, this is a good gift idea for that person that always loses their nuts. Now let's do a 3D slice coin by Brand Laser Designs. We're looking at a speed of 3000, frequency 100, max power 90, Q pulse 200, and then line interval of 0.025, and the angles change at 45. And then we're going to do a cleanup pass 3000, frequency 75, max power 20, Q pulse 200, and line interval of 0.025. And these settings are actually embedded in his files. Definitely want to make sure that safety is paramount. You want to make sure that you are, again, venting outside, using an air purification system, and making sure people are wearing the proper eye protection. And definitely do not leave your laser unattended, because this engraving took about, let's see, about 2 hours. And you can see the details here are really, really nice here. It's a nice deep engraving here. And I mean, you can see the feathers. You got nice deep engraving all around. I could have done a better job centering the coin, because you can see the edges here are not exactly centered, but everything else definitely came out really nice. Now these coins are good one-offs here for here and there, but they do take a lot of time and a lot of use out of your machine. So if you're looking into doing it, go right ahead. Now let's do a coaster. You actually can achieve different colors here, and this is going to be kind of like a gold color, and it's going to be a speed of 10, frequency of 30, max power 10, Q pulse 200, and we're going to do a line interval of 0.0500. And then we're going to do a regular gray at speed 340, frequency 100, max power is 40, Q pulse 200, and the same line interval. And this is actually on a time lapse here, and it is pretty darn slow for the colors. And to be frankly honest, you'll see once I do the preview here, it's up to you to see if this is worth it. I mean, it is agonizing slow. I mean, you're only going 10 millimeters per second here. So I'm going to leave it up to you if this is something that you want to pursue when you're doing coasters yourself. And then once we get to the bottom part here, you'll see how fast that is. Okay, this is typically a coaster here. That's on time lapse, of course. But let's go ahead and take a preview here. So as we go ahead and focus this darn camera here, you could see that we do have some gold on husband. And it's up to you if you think it's worth it or not. Personally, I most likely would just stick with the standard gray here, because you can really crank out coasters here in a timely fashion. And again, these coasters are chipped around edges here. So, the part of the D here in the upper right, that may not be chipped somewhere else. So, you know what? It's just a character of it. It was perfectly centered. But I'll leave that up to you. If you think color's worth it, by all means, go ahead and give it a try. So what are my overall thoughts about the ComMarker B6 60W MOPA fiber laser? Well, I like that the packaging is really nice. It's almost like in a retail box, and everything is packed nice and solid. Had no issues with assembly. It was nice, quick, and easy. I like that they split this up, where you could actually have the base to the side if you so choose on the floor, or you could have the gavel mounted to the top. For me, I would rather have it on top because it's definitely a lot more stable. I like that it has a autofocus. That's one of the things I really like about it. It has this intuitive touchscreen. Granted, there's really not much going on here, but at least it gives you information about what the laser is doing. And the overall footprint is very small, while maintaining in the average size work area. So if you have limited space, this machine might be worth it for you. And it's definitely priced accordingly to the competition. It's not too high, it's not too low, it's right in the middle. So if you're looking for something to save some desktop space, this laser might be what you are looking for. But that's where we start with some of the negatives, because now we have a proprietary brick here that sometimes you would see embedded in the case itself. So instead of having in the case, now it's external, and that's something I'm not a big fan of. Then it's where the laser dot itself is. It is very far forward. I would think that it would be more in the center, like lots of other lasers. So that means that you will get that warning message a lot, because if you don't have your workpiece in the front section, well, then it's going to pop up. When it comes to my reviews, it's basically just two things. Does it work out of the box? Did I have to do anything to make it work? And the answer was, it worked out of the box, and I did not have to do any tinkering to make it work. Everything just worked like it should. If you're looking for a fiber laser, affiliate links are down below, and it does not cost you any additional money. Just helps support the channel. I want to thank you for tuning in to Tripod's Garage. Please have a wonderful day, evening, or weekend, or whenever you decide to watch this video. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on Tripod's Garage.